enough of Drew and I. Let's listen to a real life Mandalorian.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another interview-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Retta.
Retta, we got a guest tonight, as you can tell from the title when you clicked on this. But we have Retta from the Discord who has been with us for quite a while. And she's been a big part of the Discord and our podcast for a while now. So we thought, what better thing to do than to have her on, because she has some cool stuff that she does in her life that's way cooler than Drew and I. So it'd be cool to have her and talk about her experiences. And so I look forward to this interview tonight. But before we get started, we had a Q&A from last week's finale, Ahsoka finale. And we'll go over just a few answers that we got, because I think it's interesting some of the answers that we got. But my question was, what are your overall thoughts and rating for the first season of Ahsoka? Ivy Butcher says, I think I still would have liked without seeing Rebels, just would not be as invested in it, a lot of stuff at the end. Aaliyah says, twas good. Red Buff says, the season was great, wanted a different outcome for the finale, and IDK about Sabine being force sensitive, but everything else was great. Pizza says 9.9999 out of 10. Needs some Jar Jar Binks in it. Connor McClowski says, I liked a lot of it. The finale was underwhelming. I got extremely annoyed by those turtle crab snails by the second episode. I wish Dave kept his character Sabine, who she already was. 6.5 out of 10. Crow Crazy says, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed this season of Ahsoka more than the last season of Mandalorian, and I would definitely be on board for a second season of Ahsoka. And the biggest hot take of all our answers from Joshua Andrew says, honestly, as a whole, and Ahsoka being my favorite character and being a huge Rebels fan, this sucked, ... I hate it. I hate to say it, but because of this show, Ahsoka is no longer my favorite character. 4 out of 10.
Whoa.
Hot take from Joshua Andrew. I think that's the first time we've ever had a response from that individual. So,
should we do a moment of silence for him?
Hey, everyone's entitled to their opinions. I think with this show, there's a lot that you have to like go back and look and understand like as a big picture rather than individual parts. So, but I don't think it can ruin Ahsoka for me. I think
no, that's a little aggressive.
You can say it ruined another character, but not Ahsoka. And maybe Retta will have comments about that tonight.
I have some thoughts.
But yeah, so thank you everyone for your answers to that question.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's done.
And send in a voicemail, Josh.
Yeah, Joshua Andrew, come on. Let's
send in a voicemail and let's really vent to us. Come on. That's aggressive. I like it. That is aggressive.
Yep. Hot takes are always fun in Star Wars because everyone has their own opinions and then they're fun. But we're not here for that. We're here for an interview with Retta. And so welcome, Retta.
If Retta wants to talk about Ahsoka the whole time?
We could do another 3-hour podcast like we've done a lot of them, but we might as well just jump into it. So as always with our interviews, this is what our 5th interview. And so our normal thing is what is your Star Wars story? Basically saying, how did you become a Star Wars fan? What's the history behind that? So Retta, take it away.
So I distinctly remember watching A New Hope for the first time when I was 10 years old, with my parents, and like I liked it, but I wasn't super captivated by it. And like I remember I had seen like all of the originals and the prequels by the time I graduated high school. I just like I enjoyed them, but wasn't really super into the franchise. And then like went to see all the other movies when they came out in theaters. But it wasn't until like late 2021 I was getting ready for a trip to Disney World and was like, oh, if I'm going to Galaxy's Edge, I should like watch the shows to get caught up. And started with Mandalorian and really just fell in love with it, but was super confused in season 2 by all of these cameos of characters that I had no idea who they were. And that's actually how I found Empire Radio / like the Mandalorian podcast when you guys still had that, because I was trying to find a podcast to explain it to me. And then I joined your guys' Discord, and everybody's like, you should watch the animated shows. So I went through those, and I enjoyed Clone Wars, but Rebels was really the one that got me into the fandom. And ever since watching Rebels, I've been like sold out 100% for the Star Wars fandom. So
cool. Because I think it was during the Book of Boba Fett that you joined a Discord / sent in your first voicemail.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're a fairly new Star Wars fan.
Yep.
Yeah. Because that would have been January, February of 2022. So that was like a little over a year and a half ago is when it all started like taking off for Retta.
Yep.
So, and I remember in the Discord we were like always pressuring you to finish the animated shows, and then like we were like no one was like talking about the show because it was letting you take your responses and like reactions and stuff, and then we could talk about as things were unfolding. But didn't you like finish the 2 shows like in like 4 months or 3 months or something like that?
Yeah, I think I started Clone Wars like early to mid February, and then I had finished Rebels by the end of April. And that was all 7 seasons of Clone Wars, all 4 seasons of Rebels, and the first season of Bad Batch.
Yeah, because wasn't it you're trying to get done before the Kenobi series started?
Yep.
So anyone out there who's like, you don't got time, well,
you can make time.
You can make time if you really want to know what's going on.
It's worth it to make time for Rebels.
All right, cool. So then with that, we're kind of talking about this kind of in 2 parts, some at the end, but you've also done something interesting on your own time with your fandom. So you want to tell us a little bit about that and why you're a real life Mandalorian? As I said?
Yeah, so July of 2022, I went to my first ever convention, which was Fan Expo Denver, and I met a cool group of costumers called the Mandalorian Mercs, and it's people who had made their own Mandalorian armor, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I joined them last December and started working on building my armor and got my armor all done and approved by June. So then the last like 4 months, I guess now, I've just been trooping like crazy. We do a bunch of charity events at like, charity walks and community events and, just all sorts of stuff like that. And I just dress up like a Mandalorian with my friends and we just goof off and have a good time.
And if people want to follow you on Instagram, what is your tag?
It's diabetic.cosplayer on Instagram.
All right, cool. Go follow Retta because she always posts tons of reels and stories and pictures and stuff. So it's always cool seeing the interaction that she has with the fans. All right, that's a cool story because it seems like everyone else that we've interviewed has been like a lifelong fan, and so like having like a new fan.
Yeah, especially you're a cosplayer already. Like you went in and then like jumped over half the fandom. Because like that's something I've always wanted to join the 501st or like do something like that. Like deep down, I always wanted to do that, but then I've been so afraid just to like jump in. I don't know why. It's like this weird Like, I don't even like to talk to him that much because I kind of get a little afraid. Like, the first time I really sat down and like talked to them was with Jeremiah at
Nerd and Out Con.
that we went to, and that was like the first time, like, because Jeremiah and Tanner were already like looking through their book and talking to him, and I walked over there. I'm like, "Come on, guys, this is scary. Like, get over here."
Yeah.
And then I just ended up talking to him, and I'm like, "This is really cool." But like, how do you start that? That's like my biggest thing. Is like,
Well,
how does that work?
we'll talk about that with some voicemails.
I know
asking the same
we got
thing,
some voicemails with that same question, but yeah, we should have started with voicemails.
So if you want to know how to get connected to doing cosplay, go all the way to the end to the voicemail. So I know a lot of you listeners don't continue through the voicemails. I see the bar graph on Spotify. But anyway,
so fun.
Drew, what's the next question we have for it? Because we're
I
gonna
thought
do.
you were going first.
I did the first one. What's your Star Wars story?
Oh, okay. The top 2 ships.
And
We'll
it's
start with that.
starships, not relationships.
Okay, so do I list my number 2 or my number 1 first?
Go with number 2 and then end with your number 1.
Okay, so number 2 would be an X-Wing. I just think they look super cool, and I've always wanted to fly one.
Awesome.
And then my number 1 is the Ghost, because, like I mentioned, I'm obsessed with Rebels, so of course it's the Ghost.
And then why do you like the Ghost so much? Obviously it's Rebels, but like, is there anything specific about the ship that you like?
I think just kind of what it means to the crew of Rebels, because like it's their home and that's where so much of the show is centered around. And also Hera is the best pilot in all of Star Wars. I can and will fight anybody on that. And I just think it's amazing that she's able to like dogfight and maneuver in this gigantic cargo ship and keep up with like TIEs and all sorts of other much smaller ships. It's just incredible.
Yeah, those are
Are
solid.
you planning on getting the Lego set of the Ghost? Or the micro or vintage collection?
Probably eventually. I don't have anywhere to put it right now, but once I get my own place, that'll be like the first Lego set that I get.
Yeah.
How many pieces is that one?
It's not that big. It's not like the big one. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, like the
Right.
light. I don't even know how to
The
explain
light
it.
cruiser that just came out?
Yeah, it's not like that. It's like, it's kind of like their miniature big ship. I don't even know how to explain
Is
it.
it like a few hundred pieces or?
It's probably at least 1,000. I don't know. Louis, who I go to the cons with sometimes, and he is like really close to Tanner. They're like best friends. He just bought it and put it together, and it seems like it's like a football size.
Football size? That's it?
Or a little bit bigger.
Like a beach ball?
Yeah, like it's not like they're big ones. They'll come out with one though, especially now. Like they're gonna come out with like a $400, $500 one. I think this one's like $150 or something.
Well, Retta, if you ever get that Lego set, we expect you to videotape.
Video
This is 1995.
Videotape it on Unreal.
Record yourself putting it together and putting videos up for that. That'd be really cool to watch you build that. All right. Next up, top 2 lightsabers.
So number 2 would be Ezra's blaster saber from the first 2 seasons of Rebels.
Awesome. People hate that so much, but I like it.
It's so cool, and I love that it's so practical for him at that point, because he doesn't quite know how to block blaster shots, and he also needs a weapon he can use without revealing himself as a Jedi. So
that's true. The practicality of that situation, it worked for him.
Yeah,
that's a good fighting point, Jeremiah. For next time you and Andrew argue about that, bring that up.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, and then my number 1 would be the Darksaber. Like, I want to get a tattoo of it. This should not surprise anybody, but I love the symbol that it is to Mandalore, and like the significance that it had in Sabine's life. Like, just really significant to me.
So, if you got it as a tattoo, like how big would you like?
California saber, duh.
Like your whole arm, like had it like all the way down your like hip and leg, so it looks like it's like what would you do?
No, like on my forearm,
Just the
So
hilt.
just like on the inside of my forearm here, so that it's like visible if I'm wearing short sleeves, and like eventually I might get like flowers around it to represent like the members of
Ooh.
the ghost crew, but it'll be my first
Ooh.
tattoo, so I'm just gonna start with
First
just the
tattoo,
dark saber and then
going all out on
Honestly,
first tattoo.
I've been really thinking about getting Star Wars tattoos, but like American traditional style,
ooh.
but like with flowers and stuff, but just like helmets of characters and stuff, like and do a whole sleeve, and then like the base of my hand will be like flower and Boba Fett's helmet.
Oh god.
That'd be dope.
I've been really like talking to my wife about it, like pushing her, and like all of her family's gonna get a tattoo in Hawaii, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna get a flower from Hawaii and then like base off that. Like you can't just start with one and then you just go in.
I fully support this.
That's the whole. How much does the sleeves cost? Like thousands
Well,
and
I
thousands
would
of
do it in like
dollars.
small pieces.
Oh,
It would take
obviously,
a
but I'm saying
while.
like that's a lot of money to do a
Oh,
sleeve,
sleeves, yeah.
especially if you're doing like high quality. Like if you want to actually look more realistic looking, like some tattoos are just kind of like basic things that
Well, what
are
I would
easy
do
to
is
do. But
American traditional is pretty basic, like very colorful, but then like just plain-ish looking. I don't know how to explain it. I want to do realistic because that's intense and way more expensive.
Yeah.
so Retta, how did you feel about the dark saber being destroyed at the end of Mandalorian season 3?
I was so upset. I almost cried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was shocked when that happened. It was unexpected, but I guess it makes sense because it's a new era for Mandalore. So
Well, and it happened so quickly too. Like I was talking with my dad about the Mando finale, and I was like, "Yeah, I was really upset they destroyed the darksaber." And he's like, "They what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't you remember it was in Bo's hand and he crushed it?" My dad's like, "I didn't see that."
funny. All right, Drew, what's the next topic?
Top two droids. And we know Chopper is going to be in that list probably for sure.
Spoilers.
Yes.
Number 2 would be R2D2, which is partially based on the movies, but is largely based on one of our droid builders in the area that I troop with a lot has an R2 unit, and he is like an absolutely incredible puppeteer for this R2 unit. Like even Chris Bartlett, the guy who's done a lot of the droid work on screen for Star Wars, told my friend who has this droid, like, you puppeteer this like you're a professional. So I love that R2 unit in particular. And then, yeah, number 1 is Chopper.
I assume that one's life size.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Expensive, but pretty cool.
Yeah, it took him 2 years to build it, and it's like tens of thousands of dollars into the project at this point.
Holy smokes.
But it looks legit. It's super, super fun.
All right. Well, you said Chopper was your number 1, so why would you?
Come
We all know why, but we got to hear from you.
Again, I'm just obsessed with Rebels. And I just love how funny he is. I love the fact that, like, you can understand a lot of what he says, and it's hilarious to me that a lot of the time it sounds like he's swearing, but you can't technically tell because it's not technically in English.
But he is.
Yeah.
Just say that he is. How many times have you seen Rebels?
I've watched it all the way through 4 times.
Oh, God, Lord. That's more than me. Around how many times have you watched through Rebels? Watched through.
Watched
Not, like,
through.
gone back.
Watched through twice, but like I've watched like from like season 2 on when it was going live. Like I'd watch Blind Wave on YouTube do the reactions to it. So it's kind of like watching it again the next day with them at the cut down version. So 2 full times. Last time I watched it was like a year and a half ago, but I'm thinking of maybe diving into it again soon. Like I haven't done Clone Wars in a long time, so like, I feel like I need to do Clone Wars. But there's just so much Star Wars out there. It's hard to.
I really think, like, depending on how long our hiatus is, I would not mind breaking down Rebels.
Well, the rumor is
Ooh.
end of January we're getting Skeleton Crew.
Oh dang!
That's the rumor. This past week. There's been
Did you
kind of
see the teaser trailer for Andor season 2 got
no.
leaked?
When?
It's like a leaked trailer,
When?
like yesterday.
I didn't see anything from that.
It's not like official, but someone like leaked it.
I don't know anything about that, but Skeleton Crew possibly in end of January or February, and so
That'd be nice for our schedule.
because it was originally supposed to come out this fall, so
Yeah,
like it was. So if the delay
Probably
would just
start
be
now, I would assume, or like next month.
So I'm thinking we're gonna get a trailer maybe next month or something.
Sorry, Will, if it's next week, you got to reschedule.
We already did once. But Rebels, yes. So twice for me. Drew, you just watched through it once?
I've seen it. I've seen it more than once because I watched it live.
Right.
And then I watched it when it all came out on Disney Plus. So I've seen it twice. And then I've seen like season 3 and 4 more than once.
Right.
Like, I think like 4 times total. Because I just kept going back to those, especially with leading up to Ahsoka. I watched all of season 4
Right.
to like help with it, and definitely was needed. But yeah, I feel like Rebels is season 1 kind of probably pushed a lot of people away the same way like the first couple of seasons of Clone Wars did for a lot of people. They started right away.
Right.
Because I feel like season 1 is very, I want to say childish, but it's more of a kid show. And then it builds up, and then it gets to the point where you're like, oh wait, kids watch this still? Like, so good. Like,
Right.
so.
All right. Cool. So next up, top 2 creatures in Star Wars.
So number 2 would be Purgle,
Okay.
the space whales.
Yep.
And then
Star whales officially.
Yeah, come on. They
Star
changed their
whales,
names.
whatever. They're space whales. Star whales is a stupid name. Whatever. That my number 1 is Lothcats.
Oh dang, Lothcat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What's your number 1? Did you get a Lothcat from Galaxy's Edge?
No, when I went, I had not seen Rebels yet, so I didn't know what they were. But now I keep seeing them all over the place, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get one of those. But I'm going to be putting 3 little drawings of Lothcats on the back of my helmet. Like, I'm going to have my 2 best friends and I are all going to draw one. Like, we're known as the Chaos Trio in our costuming group.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to have a little trio of Lothcats on the back of my helmet.
Cool.
Sweet.
And do you have a specific Lothcat that you enjoy the most? Because we see a live action one in Mando season 1 and in Ahsoka. But then you got like various ones in the cartoon.
I like the animated ones better. The live action ones are a little like
stiff.
Yeah, they look a little weird, but that's okay. I'm just excited anytime I see them.
Galaxy's Edge just purrs, but it's just like a solid thing and just purrs.
Fun. All right, Drew, what's next?
Top 2 music themes / songs.
Okay, so number 2 is Kenobi's theme, like from the show.
Oh yeah.
Anytime I listen to it, like I just feel like I'm getting ready to go on an adventure, and it just like it's such an immersive song for me. And then my number 1 is Sabine's theme. I resonate so much with Sabine's character. So
I always think that Sabine's theme is like a variation of Ahsoka's theme sometimes.
Yeah. They are very similar. Like when I was first getting into listening to the soundtracks a lot, I had a hard time distinguishing between the two. So,
which is interesting, knowing that they're master and apprentice, and then they have similar themes. So it's almost like was Dave planning something a long time ago that he didn't get the chance to do during Rebels, but who knows?
I have thoughts on that, but
who knows? That's Kevin Kiner does the musical theme, so maybe he wrote both themes anyway for Ahsoka and Sabine. So he's like, I'll do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we're starting to get into some of the meteor ones. Drew, what's
I just
oh wait,
didn't-
actually, we gotta take a commercial break. We gotta follow our itinerary. So before we get into these meaty things, we need to have a beverage along with these meaty things. So if you enjoy coffee and or tea, take a listen to our sponsor for today, Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code EMPIRERADIO, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right. Retta, have you had Wesley Andrews tea? Coffee or tea?
I have. Their coffee is incredible.
See, there you go. We're not just making stuff up, folks. We got someone has bought it themselves and has liked it. So that's
There you go.
Yep.
there's
It's very good.
yep.
All right. Proof in the pudding, or
In the beans. Proof in the beans.
oh, there
Slash
it is.
proof in the beans or in the leaves.
Leafs.
All right, Drew. What's up next?
You're still your turn.
Is it?
Yeah, you didn't do top 2 characters.
Oh. We're already getting all messed up. I can't remember anything. Top 2 characters, Retta.
So number 2 is Ezra. I love that he's such a goofball, but is like really comes into his own and grows up and matures, and I just really appreciate a lot about him as a character. And then my number 1, if you couldn't already tell from everything that I've said in this episode so far, let alone how much I talk about her on Discord, is Sabine. I could talk about Sabine for years. I just really relate to her character and her personality a lot. Trials of the Darksaber is like my absolute favorite piece of Star Wars ever, and I love Sabine a lot.
So then we have to ask you, how do you feel about...
Is this when we're asking this question?
Yeah. How do you feel about
Look up.
Sabine being Force sensitive?
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Like as much as Andrew?
Oh, I read it. Definitely hates it more than Andrew.
Look, being Force sensitive is not something that you can like grow into, that like suddenly at the age of 30 you become Force sensitive. That's never been how it worked. It's always you are or you're not. Mm-hmm. And for her to have lived and worked so closely with Kanan and Ezra for 4+ years, and neither of them to have ever picked up on her being Force sensitive, it just takes away from her relationship with them. And like, she's a Mandalorian. She is a fully capable warrior of her own accord. She doesn't need the Force to be fully capable.
That is true. But the thing is that I don't know if we've ever gotten the answer to is, can a Jedi or a Force sensitive person just sense that someone is Force sensitive? Like, is that even a...
Well, Kanan says that in Rebels.
No.
That's how they knew Ezra was Force sensitive.
Yeah.
How did they... say that about Ezra? Like, I don't even remember.
Because Ezra could always hear the kyber crystals and stuff like that. Sabine never could.
But I'm saying, like, Kanan, did he sense that Ezra was force sensitive, or did he see him do something, or did Ezra say something that made him...
I feel like he had his suspicions, and then when Ezra broke into Kanan's room and was like checking out the holocron and was able to open it, that's when Hera was like, oh, he passed the test. He is force sensitive if he was able to open that.
Because, like, I went back and watched that scene when Kanan is talking to Hera about training Sabine, and she's like, Hera's like, oh, because Sabine's not force sensitive, and he says no, comma, but then he says, like, everyone has the force in them, and it seemed like he was implying that she was force sensitive, that she's just being stubborn.
Well, but even Ezra at the start of that episode is like, I don't know, maybe it's not a good idea for you to train with it. And Sabine's like, what do you mean? Go on. And he's like, well, I struggled with lightsaber training and I have the force, implying I have it, you don't.
Well, right, but he could be wrong. Obviously he was. But I just think that Kanan's comment about she can't use the force because she's stubborn, like implying that he believed that there was a possibility that there was something there. It's up for interpretation.
I mean, even the droid said that she would have never been picked.
Right.
Yeah.
The bottom of the line, but
her metachlorian count's too low, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how it plays out.
But the force lives in all.
Yeah.
Some people can figure out how to open it, apparently.
But it's a topic to be debated about Sabine specifically, and we could talk about that a lot. And I think there could be like...
It's Disney. The Force awakens in everyone.
Except for... It's only like the third random character they have made force sensitive. It's not that common. So, but...
it's becoming common. If Andor is all of a sudden force sensitive...
I would be so mad.
Then I hate it because we know that he's not in the Rogue One. They gotta be consistent with that. But now we could get other characters in Andor that might be force sensitive. Who knows? But
what's his name in Andor force sensitive then?
Who?
Sharut?
Yeah.
Oh, in Rogue One, he was.
He just was never trained to be a Jedi.
Correct, and he was just very weak in the force. Like, he could do enough to like help him fight, and like when he shot that one TIE fighter out of the sky on Edu, like
blind,
he could sense that, but he probably couldn't like move anything with the force or anything. But I don't know. I think the Sabine thing will be debated for years to come, but we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe that's the only time it's ever going to work, is those two moments, and then she'll never do it again, but who knows? But yes, Ezra and Sabine are two solid, good answers that Retta gave us. And how did you feel about their live action portrayals, just as portrayals?
Minus like the writing of her being force sensitive, I absolutely loved everything about them in live action. I thought they were brilliantly cast, brilliantly acted. I mean, their costumes, other than Sabine's armor not fitting very well, were just absolutely amazing. And like the moment where they saw each other for the first time was just perfect. I cried.
Wait,
did you watch our breakdowns of the episodes?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance to.
Drew and I hated that.
That was the worst interaction of all time.
It was so in character for them, though, because they're both just like kind of awkward and like...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Compared to the interaction that Ezra had with Hera, I wanted that with Sabine. To sacrifice the entire galaxy to meet up with your friend and to be like, what's up, homie? And like pound it. Like, there's a different level of love there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Ezra was in character in that, but Sabine, I think, should have been a little bit more emotional.
I felt just cry, just like like
tear up at least a little bit.
Just a little something. That's all I wanted.
Right. But yeah, so I think they were cast very well. I think Natasha was great. Natasha Bordizzo, is that how you say her name?
Mm-hmm.
Bordizzo.
I
I
think so.
think she did a very great portrayal. All right, Drew, what's up next?
Top 2 moments.
Ooh, there's a lot of moments in Star Wars.
There are.
You can't
My
say
number.
I'm just kidding.
No more rebels from now on.
No more
My number 2 is actually when Ezra and Sabine were reunited in
Oh.
Ahsoka.
Wow.
That's fine.
Yeah,
All right.
but it's okay that you guys don't like it because you don't have to like everything about Star Wars.
Right.
And then my number 1 is Trials of the Darksaber, like kind of as a whole, but particularly the moment where like Sabine actually starts training with the Darksaber and like is actually honest with herself about her emotions regarding the entire thing, because it makes her that much stronger of a person and better of a leader. And I just resonate so much with her internal struggle in that episode. Like, it's just my absolute favorite moment.
Yeah, that scene always gets my misty eyes. It's a very emotional scene. But yeah, definitely a good top moment, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, top 2 least favorite moments in Star Wars.
Okay, so number 2 is the end of episode 9, where it's like, he's dead. Wait, no, she's dead. Wait, no, they're kissing. And now he's dead? It's so stupid to me.
That's Drew's favorite moment. the Rey Kylo Ren death / kiss /
She kisses the life out of him.
sucks the life out of him.
I just
Yeah,
there's a lot of things I don't understand about the sequels, but particularly that scene. I'm just like, why was that the way that you chose to do that?
So when did you see that movie in relation to your watching Star Wars content? Was that before you started watching the shows?
Yeah, so I watched all of the sequels when they came out in theaters, but at that point I was enough of a casual fan that like I had seen Rogue One and had seen the sequels and didn't realize that Jyn Erso and Rey were 2 different people. And so when Rey's always like, I want to know who my parents are, I'm like, didn't you see the beginning? Like, at the beginning, we saw them like get the one your mother got shot. So even though I've rewatched them since watching the shows, I'm still not really a sequels fan, but I'm glad they exist for the people that do enjoy them.
Right. All right, number 1.
Was Padme dying of a broken heart in Revenge of the Sith?
What?
I'm sorry, but she is such a like self-assured character. I'm like, that is the stupidest way.
Dang.
Like, she had kids to live for. Her whole life did not just revolve around Anakin. So her dying of a broken heart because he turned to the dark side just seems like bad writing.
More than that. Okay.
Dang.
It's more than that though, because she didn't have the strength from the birth to come back.
Then say that. Don't say she's dying of a broken heart, because the droid said medically she's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
She says she lost the will to live. That's what I think
That's true.
said.
I never really thought about that. Now that I have kids, that kind of does. No, I might have to think about that now. I didn't think about that.
I don't know, I think it's just like such a moment of shock. Like, your husband has turned to the dark side and killed all these people. Like, I don't know.
Almost killed you.
I could understand, like, in the moment, like, it's so overwhelming that you can't like rationally think, oh, I have kids to take care of. Like, in the moment, it could just be like the only thing. But it is a very memeable moment that we get a lot of memes on, of that moment of where she dies like that, which is funny. Not funny / not funny.
Yeah, it's not her death that I have an issue with. It's the fact that they're like, oh, she's medically fine. She's just sad. That annoys me.
All right. Well, Drew, what's the next one? Because I feel like she just said one for the next one, but what's up next?
Your Star Wars hot takes? Is that one?
Just one.
Just one. Your number one Star
Unless
Wars
you
hot
have to, but if you...
No, I just have one. I actually don't like the movies that much.
Ooh.
It is a very hot take. I'm aware of this.
Dang.
But again, like I had watched all of the movies either like at home or if like all of the sequels in Rogue One and Solo I saw in theaters, but just never really got into the fandom. It wasn't until I watched the shows that I actually cared about Star Wars as a whole. So just I'm glad I'm glad they exist for the people that like them.
That is a definition of the hottest take of all time, I think.
So I can understand someone saying like they like the shows more than the movies, because I feel like, like I've said, I think like Clone Wars and Rebels each are better than any of the trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I still like
I need a fan.
most of the
Getting
movies.
hot.
So
I mean, I enjoy the movies. I just 10 times out of 10 I will watch any of the shows over the movies.
right.
That's a little different than saying I don't like the movies.
Okay. I like Rogue One. I like Revenge of the Sith.
Well, we'll get into the movie
Yeah.
rankings in a
Yeah.
minute. All right. Well, next up then is rank the trilogies. So you got the prequels, the original, and then the sequels. How would you rank those three? Starting with bottom three, what's your least favorite trilogy?
Least favorite would be sequels. And then honestly, I kind of go back and forth as to whether I like the prequels or the original trilogy more. I think I liked the original trilogy more until I saw Clone Wars, and then now the prequels are like top spot for me because I've seen Clone Wars.
All right. So sequels, originals, and then prequels.
Yep.
In order.
Yeah.
Fun. I think that was my
Was it yours?
my same.
Probably.
This is a long. We've been doing this for 3.5 years. That was a long time ago.
Mine's definitely originals.
All right. Well, Drew, what's the last topic we have?
Rank all 11 films.
Uh-oh, this is the big one.
This might be the biggest hot take of all time, too. Here we
Okay,
go.
so I go from the bottom up, right?
Yep. So number 11. What's your least favorite Star Wars movie?
So number 10 and number 11 could really switch, but it would be episodes 8 and 9.
Okay, good. Wait, 8 and then 9?
I don't remember them well enough to remember the difference between the two. I just
Oh,
really
nice.
do not enjoy either of them.
All right.
You've
Well,
only
fair
seen them
enough. Huh?
Have you only seen them once?
No, I've seen them probably 3 or 4 times each.
Okay.
And then number 9 would be Solo. Like, it's a decent movie, but I feel like it undoes a lot of Han Solo's arc in the original trilogy. So,
It does? How would you say so?
because when we first see him in A New Hope, he's very like self-centered, all about himself, doesn't care about anybody else. And I feel like in the Solo movie, we see him like that at the start, but then he starts to care about other people more by the end of it. So then it seems like he's going backwards by the time we get to A New Hope, where he's self-centered again.
I think he does go backwards, though, because his relationship with what's-her-name's all messed up.
Kira.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, but it's always when the woman that he loves is there that he chooses to be a good guy.
Facts.
It's not until he meets Leia that he like comes back and saves the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
he's a little softy. But
Yeah.
Solo, people have mixed feelings on Solo movies.
Because
so
if you think about it, too, is like, he also goes back again when it comes to episode 7. Because he literally leaves his wife and his child.
Well, I think because his son went to the dark side, and then that kind of put a wedge between him and Leia.
Yeah.
But do we even know like the timeline on that, like when he left? Because I think,
I mean, he's always been in and out. I don't think he's the best dad, to say the least. But
Maybe.
either way, he does flip flop a lot. But his Chewie's always there with him though.
You gotta choose your pet dog over your kids sometimes,
Yep.
right, Andrew? Or Drew?
Oh no, definitely not for me.
All right,
Definitely
next
not.
up, number 8.
Brady, Don't Hate Me, Phantom Menace.
Oh dang! Episode 1 at number 8. Interesting. And why do you have it so low on your list?
I don't know. I just the story isn't as compelling as some of the other ones to me. Like,
Little Annie, come on.
yeah,
So it's more so there's just better ones, not necessarily that it's bad.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I can accept that.
yeah.
There's still episode 7.
Hey, what's wrong with episode 7? Come on. All right. All right. So that was number 8. Number 7.
Would probably be episode 7.
All right, right in the middle.
Yeah, it's the best of the sequels in my opinion, and I don't hate
don't
it.
think-
It just kind of feels like
Agree
they
with you.
copied and pasted from A New Hope.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But
All right. Next up, number 6.
would be Attack of the Clones.
All right.
And again, not that I don't like it, I just the story isn't as compelling as some of the other ones.
I'm surprised that you would say that because of its close proximity to the Clone Wars show, and how closely related that is to the show, which is interesting.
Yeah, I like Ahsoka. I'm a little sad that she's not in Attack of the Clones. I mean, it makes sense timeline wise completely. It doesn't line up, but Ahsoka's a large part of why I like the Clone Wars. So
Right. So then next up, number 5.
A New Hope.
All right. First original trilogy episode.
Mm-hmm.
So then number 4.
Return of the Jedi.
All right. Number 3.
Empire Strikes Back.
All right. All right. So that's our number 3. So now we're in our top 3. So what's number 2?
Revenge of the Sith.
And so then that means your number 1 is
Rogue
Rogue
One.
One.
awesome. So it's interesting. So I wrote it down. So from the bottom, 8, 9 Solo, 1, 7, 2, 4, 6, 5, 3 Rogue One. Interesting. We should go back and look at everyone else's list that we had for us, and then
Compare them.
interviews to see the range of
We
differences.
should.
But so why
Rogue One is really good.
Rogue One and Episode 3? Why are they your top 2? Why are they? Could they be interchangeable, or are they definitively 1 and 2?
They're somewhat interchangeable. I think the reason Rogue One is my absolute favorite is because it's just solidly a good movie on its own, whereas Revenge of the Sith, I didn't I liked it, but I didn't appreciate it a whole lot until after I'd seen Clone Wars, because Clone Wars really gives you an appreciation for just how far Anakin fell and how significant it was that he turned his back on the Jedi Order. And yeah, I even like Rogue One more after seeing Andor as well. But Andor in general was a really good movie. Rogue One, I think, was really well written. The cinematography is amazing. It just is a good all around movie, even if you're not into Star Wars.
Awesome. Cool. So that is everything on our interview list. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about Star Wars off the top of your head? This is your time to say it. Let's make it your canon opinion right here on the internet.
I think Mandalorians are better than Jedi.
Oh, dang.
Ooh.
Another hot take, but
So then, that being said, we know that you have your other podcast that you're on, the Gryffindor Common Room. So
Yeah.
So, because you're huge into Harry Potter, do you like Harry Potter more than Star Wars?
No, I definitely am more into Star Wars.
Oh, dang.
Um, yeah, the Harry Potter podcast was more just I made a friend and we were both super into Harry Potter, and so I had somebody to start a Harry Potter podcast with, and I don't really have the time to start another podcast, so I just keep up with the Harry Potter one with my friend and then like listen to a bunch of Star Wars stuff and have my costuming stuff that I do with Star Wars too. So,
Cool. And it's the Gryffindor Common Room, right? That's what it's called?
yes.
So, if you guys anyone listening likes Harry Potter, go check out Retta's podcast. I've seen all the movies once, but I just don't know enough to sit down and listen to an episode. I was like, I can't
Yeah,
remember anybody.
that's fair. That's completely fair. It's a huge thing to get into, and yeah.
But are you excited for the remake of the Harry Potter things, like in the TV series? Because they're doing
I
each book is going to be a season apparently.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, there's part of me that wants to be excited, but then at the same time, like, I wish that the author would be kinder with her words or stop talking. Um, I yeah, just be kind. I wish people would just be kind. Um, and
But would you
if
watch
they
the
do it
Netflix
correctly,
series?
I will probably watch it. Yes, I want to be excited about it. I hope that they do it correctly, but also I don't know that we necessarily need a remake. I would rather that they made like a prequel or something, some sort of spin-off versus remaking it, because I feel like the movies are already a pretty good adaptation of the books.
Or if they
But
did like the play. No?
the
Okay.
Okay. Because
Yeah, like
the play was took place after the movies, right?
yeah, it was supposedly like 19 years later. Um and it's hotly contested. I would say the majority of the fandom just does not consider the play to be canon, but that's a whole can of worms that you can get
That's
people to
fine with
argue
me.
about for days. So,
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Retta, for being on this podcast and answering all these questions and ranking everything. Definitely.
thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's definitely cool seeing other people's perspectives on Star Wars whenever we can. Even though I knew most of your answers were going to be Rebels related, but not everyone.
Not like I talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
But not everyone knows that.
Yeah, but if you joined the Discord, you would know that because Retta's always talking about that. So join the Discord if you haven't. Link is in the description and the landing page that we have. But before we end the episode, we got to do everyone's favorite time of the podcast episode, and it's voicemail time. So let's transition over.
It's voicemail time.
All right, cool. So we have 4 voicemails tonight. 2 of them are specifically aimed at Retta because people in the Discord knew that she was going to be on. So we'll listen to those 2 first. I will say there's one from Will and then one from Brady. Brady sent in 2, but his second question is for Retta. So I'm going to play his second one. So it's going to sound out of order when we do Brady's things, but that's fine. So let's listen to Will's voicemail.
Retta! Will here. I'm curious. What has been your experience with cosplaying? How many people have you met so far? Are they cool? Not as cool as us, though, right? Right? But what has it been like? I'm actually wanting to get into cosplay myself, so I'm wondering.
All right, so that's Will's voicemail. I'm going to quick play Brady's 1, 2 back to back. So,
and here's another quick voicemail I had. Boss Nass was unable to leave one this week. He's incredibly busy in the Planet Core, but he wanted to know if you Retta were planning on cosplaying any Gungans anytime soon, and if so, which one you were thinking about doing. And also, he was wondering if the other guys at Empire Radio would ever be willing to try cosplaying a Gungan as well. Thanks. And Boss Nass gives his salutations. I'll put it that way.
All right, cool. Thank you, Will and Brady. So, Retta, what would you have to say about just like the people you've met, which is Will's question, like how many people have you met? Because you do a lot of cons and stuff, but also
Mhm.
advice for people who want to get into doing cosplay.
So I would say if you were wanting to go hardcore into the cosplay scene and join like the Mando Mercs, the 501st, the Rebel Legion, it's a lot of work, but it is super, super fun. And my favorite thing about it is that it means like for you to get approved with whatever club, like your costume is going to be screen accurate, so it's going to look really, really good. But then you can also use your costume for like community service and charity work, and like that's one of the reasons that I joined that was so that I could actually do something with my costume more than just dressing up for myself at conventions. Um, so that's why I joined. And yeah, it just depends on which costume you're wanting to do as to which club you would be in. So if you're a Mandalorian, you're part of the Mando Mercs. If you're any of the like bad guys, so any of the Imperials, you know, your Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, things like that, that's going to be 501st. And then, you know, like Jedi, any of the quote unquote good guys are all going to be Rebel Legion. And then there's some costumes that cross over in between. Um, yeah, and I've met so many amazing people through doing it. Our local chapter has about 50 official members for the Mandalorians, and I've met most of them, I think. But we work a lot with the Rebel Legion and the 501st as well, so we do a lot of events together, and I've met just some of the most incredible people. I don't know if I can really compare them to the people I've met through Empire Radio, because some people, like Empire Radio people, I've only met via the internet. The other costumers I've met in person, but Star Wars nerds are wonderful most of the time. So
Most of the time.
yeah.
So the question I have though is like, where do you get the stuff for your cosplay?
That was my question. Like, how
like,
did you do it?
like, how do you know that like what you're building is to the correct
Specs.
specifications and design and shape and stuff like that? That's all I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, so all of the clubs have what's called costume requirement lists or CRLs, and so for like the Rebel Legion and 501st, where you're doing a specific on-screen character, it's going to be a very specific, like, you know, if you're a stormtrooper, you have all of these pieces that are made out of this or look like this. You know, it's got that list of exact specifications. The Merc CRLs are a little bit different unless you're doing a canon character. So if you're doing a custom character, which is what my Mandalorian is, we just have rules about like, you know, your helmet has to be this size proportional to your body, and it has to have the T-shaped visor, and here's the symbols you're allowed to use, here's the ones you're not, and you have to have these certain pieces of armor, these certain pieces of, you know, a belt and stuff like that. A lot of people do 3D printed stuff for their props. So like my helmet and my blaster for my costume are both 3D printed. Some people print the rest of their armor. For me, I used a product called Sintra, which is just plastic PVC foam board. So you get templates, size the templates roughly to yourself, and then cut them out of the plastic with a jigsaw and use a heat gun to shape it. And then you paint it whatever color scheme you want.
And you just like put that on clothes essentially. Like,
Yeah.
how does it stay on you? Like, I don't know if that's a dumb question, but
No, there's no dumb questions. So I've
Yeah.
got a flight suit that's made out of scrubs. Some people make their own, but it's just supposed to look like you've got a one-piece flight suit on. And then you have a vest that you make, or you can make it or buy it, but most people make them. And then I use Velcro to keep the armor pieces attached to the vest.
Interesting. I do remember, Will, to answer your question from when we talked to the 501st a couple years ago. Because like they have like the catalog where it has like there's like hundreds of characters in there, and
Any character pretty much you can think of, you can make it. They know how to do it.
And so like I asked them, like what's the most common ones, and they're like, well, actually, the most common is the Imperial officer because that's a base like that you can build upon, like to add to it and to make different characters. And so if you want to do something simple where you can maybe work on it as time goes on to like upgrade it to other things, you could do Imperial officer, which being easy because there's it's black pants,
Well, you can
black
be
shirt.
or
So
you can be Thrawn. Will.
Yep,
good.
that's true.
Thrawn would be a cool dude. How many people are gonna be doing that Enoch character now?
I bet there'll be a lot.
There's gonna be a lot of those guys, and a lot of just those night troopers in general. I feel like are gonna be just like casual fan cosplay stuff. It would be cool to see. So
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that cool helmet. I've already seen people like already build that helmet out.
fun.
I'm like, dude, that's so sweet.
And then Brady asked if you would ever cosplay a Gungan. If so, who?
Probably not, mostly because the thought of wearing the like rubber mask over my face makes me feel a little claustrophobic. And I know that might sound ironic coming from somebody who regularly wears a Mandalorian helmet, but that breathes a lot better than a rubber mask would. Yeah. So
And then he asked us, Drew, would we ever do a Gungan cosplay?
No.
No for a cosplay, but how about this? What if Disney made a show that had live action Gungans in it and they needed people to dress up?
Dude, if Disney came to me and asked me for anything, I would do it.
Okay. I might have to dress up as a Gungan too.
I don't know. It don't matter. I just
would
want
dress
to
up as anything.
I would love to figure out how to build like a legit like scout trooper outfit. That's what I want.
One of my best friends has a scout trooper, and it's really, really fun trooping with him in it because he just acts like a total dork. And
I would just miss everything on purpose.
Yep.
I feel like that would be so hard to make. Like, how do you so when you 3D printed yours, you just like had someone have it and they did it, or like, how did you do it?
So I don't have a 3D printer. I commissioned my blaster and my helmet, so somebody else had the file and the printer, and like the file tells the printer how to like go back and forth and build it up. A lot of the troopers are actually going to be vacuum formed. So it's like a whole process that there's approved creators that may or may not have like a mold that dates back to the original molds that were used for making the props on the sets of the films. Like my friend Micah that has a scout trooper, he's like 5'3", so he had to get like specialized like for a shorter stature scout trooper. But that's part of the nice thing about joining up with like the 501st or one of the clubs is they can help you source a maker for the specialized pieces like that.
Yeah, see, everything you just said scared me again. I'm scared again.
Yeah, but that's why you joined the club, because like I knew nothing going into it, but then the people in my club were like, no, this is what you do. You contact this person, you do this. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing. I'll listen to you.
So you can answer this question or not. Roughly how expensive was your outfit? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but
I think all total it ended up around 700.
That's not that bad.
I think, which isn't bad for a Star Wars cosplay, especially one that's head to toe like mine is. Because they get more expensive the higher up you go. Like I've got a friend who has a Chewbacca costume. That was $5,000. Doing Vader is like $6,000. So it just depends on where you're at.
So can someone join like one of those groups and just like commission the whole thing and not have to do anything?
Yeah.
And that's legal? That's allowed?
Yeah, they don't necessarily care how you do it. As long as you meet the costume requirement lists, you're good to just join and be approved.
So I think when we talked to the 501st, like you can commission people, but you can't have like a pre-made thing. Like, so you can't just order offline like someone that has Stormtrooper thing. Like you have to have it custom made specifically for you, I think.
Yeah, it does have to be tailored and fitted specifically to you. And so there's some makers that are able to do that. It can be tricky, especially with the troopers and stuff. A lot of the times, like when my friend Micah was making his scout trooper, like he's had to like trim down the edges of stuff and use a heat gun to shape certain pieces. And like I think he painted his helmet himself. And so it all depends on how much of it you want to do.
Like the Mandalorian Black Series helmet as your Mandalorian helmet.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times it ends up being a lot cheaper to do the things yourself versus commissioning it, because then you're saving on all the labor that goes into it by just doing it yourself.
I forgot I would want to be a Ahsoka trooper. Never mind.
Ahsoka trooper.
That'd be dope.
Dude, just be the ice cream bucket guy.
Is that a
501st,
or is that?
That's
I believe the clones are 501st.
So they're from the 501st, but they change. It's like 223, I think.
No, 323.
323,
yeah, or 322,
something like that.
I think it was 332nd, something like that.
Yeah, 332. That's what it is.
But as far as the clubs go, they would belong to the 501st Legion since they're troopers.
Gotcha.
Fun. All right. Well, those are our cosplay voicemails, but we have one more from Brady and then one from Garrett. So let's listen to Brady's first voicemail that he sent.
Hey there, Empire Radio. What a pleasure it is to be leaving another voicemail for you. And what a pleasure it is to be saying hello to the Mandalorian herself, Miratal, on your podcast. I just wanted to know, for the record, what your favorite parts of the entire Ahsoka show were. I apologize if you've already answered this because it might have come up in a podcast that I've missed, but I really want to know what your thoughts on the Ahsoka show are. And Retta, how did you get so into cosplaying? And what have you thought of the community so far? Thank y'all. Have a great day. And thank you once again, Miss Miratal, for your lovely cards that you sent my way. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And as always, I hope that you've gotten your daily dose of Bantha Stew.
I guess I forgot at the end of the first one.
You could have played this one.
But the second one was also about, I don't know, whatever. But thank you, Brady. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. But his question for us three tonight, what was our favorite parts of the Ahsoka series? Who wants to go first?
I gotta think about it.
Retta, what was your favorite part?
We know what your favorite part was.
Pretty much just all of the Ezra and Sabine stuff, minus Sabine being Force sensitive. Like, I already talked about that earlier. I just thought that they were really well cast. I loved that Ezra sounded like Ezra. Like, there's one time in the finale where he was like, Sabine! That sounded like a soundbite from Rebels. It was absolutely incredible.
All right. For me, I would say, I think it's episode 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say
flashback, like World Between Worlds stuff. Like that is something special that's going to go down in history for Star Wars. I think.
Seeing Clone Wars in live action, seeing the Mandalorian, season Mandalore a little bit in live action. That's has to be it for me.
Yeah, so that's great. I think I really like live action Sabine's portrayal. Like I was like going into, because like I never really picture. I think I've said this on the podcast. Like I've never thought of animated Sabine as being Asian. I always thought her as being like Hispanic or like Middle Eastern type of or something, because I just associate that with the voice actress that did her. I go like, oh, that's just whatever. So then I was like, Asian Ahsoka or Asian Sabine was like a little different for me. I was like, but who's this person? I don't know who this actress is. I never met her. Like, she better not screw up Sabine. And I think she did a very faithful, like, portrayal. And I really, really, really liked her. And I hope to see her again in live action. So,
yep.
Drew,
someone has to train Grogu.
So. But Drew, yours was just episode 5?
Yeah, I think episode 5. Thrawn stuff was cool, but like seeing Thrawn and like all those troopers when like they're like chanting and stuff was pretty dope. Like that scene was amazing. But yeah, seeing Anakin and seeing the Seeds of Mandalore and her troopers and Rex, and it was so cool. So yeah, it's got to be that.
Well,
Young Annie, and it was so well done.
Yeah, I also really like the whole end with Balin at the father, son, daughter statues. Like, I really, 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 really like that because it's pointing so much to so many possibilities in the future, and I'm hopefully they can recast someone like Liev Schreiber. I think he would be the best, but I really like that end scene for Balin. I thought it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we got one last voicemail from Garrett, who has been, I don't know if Retta hasn't been listening to our breakdowns. Garrett has been, he's a world class pod racer, and he's been winning all these races. And last week, the Huts were after him because they were betting on someone else, and Garrett won. And so he was being chased, and this is our update on what's going on with Garrett. So let's see what's going on.
Hey Empire Radio, it's Garrett again. I'm still trying to make it off Tatooine after winning the Boonta Classic. I have my eyes on that N1 starfighter I saw when I was first working on my pod racer. But apparently, the Hutts have battle droids.
Look, the droids we're looking for.
Look at that, right on cue. Hold please. Got him. Wait a minute. Is that a Lothcat? What are you doing on Tatooine, little guy? Doesn't matter. Let's get you out of that cage. I shall name you Panther. Oh, I think he likes it. Speaking of cats, are you more of a cat person or a dog person? Come on, Panther. Let's get into this awesome starfighter.
All right, cool. Thank you, Garrett. Wow, I can't believe you took out all those battle droids all by yourself. But he has a question for us. Are we a cat person or a dog person? He isn't. He is new to the podcast in the last few months, so he hasn't caught up on everything we've said in the past. But for me, definitely a dog person.
Definitely dog person.
Dogs are way better than cats. Would you agree, Retta?
Yeah. I mean, I lean more towards dogs, but I do also like cats. But I'm more of a dog person.
Yeah, like, I'll pet a cat. Like if they're at someone's house, like I'll try to befriend them, but they're just so like humans. They're
standoffish.
There's like,
Yeah.
but I will say, on Sundays I go to a Bible study through my church, and the house that we go to, they have two cats that are very affectionate, and they like me. So I guess those cats are pretty cool because they let me pet them, and they'll
It all
go on my
depends
lap.
on the cat.
But
I
most
used to have a
cats,
cat that was like a dog. She was best. She
Yep.
would stretch at you when you walked in the door, and then she would meow when the dogs were barking. She was pretty dope.
Yeah, but if you like cats, you do you. I just know that dogs are just way better.
Agreed.
All right, cool. Well, that is everything we have planned tonight. So before we get into our socials and stuff, Retta, you can plug in all your socials once again. You've already said it, but plug it. Go quick.
Okay. My Instagram, where I post a lot of pictures of my cosplay stuff, is diabetic.cosplayer. And then my podcast is the Gryffindor Common Room podcast if you're into Harry Potter.
Cool. All right, well, let's jump into our socials, and then we'll get out of here. So in the description below, the links.co/Empire Radio, links spelled with two I's, is a landing page for everything. And so you can join us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Join the Discord. You can hang out with Retta in the Discord. She's always one of our most active members. So go check out the Discord. There's a lot of fun there. More the merrier. We have our fan email on there. We have our voicemail. If you want to send a voicemail, click the link. We always love new people. We never get tired of voicemails. Like, we've done hundreds and hundreds of voicemails over the last 2.5 years. So definitely more the merrier.
Send
them in. I think I mentioned fan email. If you just want to send us an email. What Also, we are part of the needlesslynerdy.com podcast or entertainment network. So if you like any kind of nerdy content, go check them out. They got podcasts and articles and all kinds of stuff. So go get your nerd on over there. I think that's everything. So yeah, just follow us everywhere. We do live streams for every episode on Twitch. So normally Wednesday nights. Next week will be Tuesday night. A little schedule change. We will be doing another interview with
William.
Will from the voicemail. So if you've been listening to this for a while, you've heard a million voicemails from Will, and you heard one tonight too. So
unless Andor trailer drops.
Yes, unless the trailer drops, then we're kicking Will to the
our
curb.
mod to this.
Priorities.
Sorry, Will. He understands.
But yeah, so Will has been a big part of Empire Radio for a while. He's a mod in our Discord, and he's just an active person
And
all
on
around.
Twitch.
And on Twitch too. So so live streams will be Tuesday next week, but normally they're Wednesdays. And also all of our podcast episodes are also on YouTube. I edit those and put those up as soon as possible. So go follow us on YouTube. We're knocking on 500 subscribers. And so we would love for you guys to just go over there and just follow us. So a lot of fun. Anything else that you guys want to say tonight before we head out?
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. You're welcome. We love to have you again, maybe sometime in the future, however it plays out. Because sometimes, Drew has to go on vacation or something, and Andrew's not available. So more people in our network, the better.
Misses the episode.
Yeah, I've only missed one episode. I think
you missed one.
I think it was our first summer in 2020. I think I had to do something, and you.
Oh, you had COVID, didn't you?
No.
Oh.
I think you guys did like a book review or something that first summer. So it's like a few months in. I have to go back. I think I just only missed one. So this is episode 227. Can you believe that? That's a lot of episodes. But that's that. So let's just get out of here. So I've already screwed that up. You've been listening to another interview-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Retta.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.